Well, hello everybody. This is Don from Wizard Tower Games. Thanks for tuning into my live. I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight a couple different things on my live that I want to address. First of all, I'm going to start off with Dave Simpson from the Gamers on Games. I'm going to address a few different things with him that has transpired over the past, well, for a while now with him. It's kind of come to a crescendo regarding a post made on his page that I've tried to be nice about, and he seems to want to ignore my PMs and ignore my requests by deleting my comments on the comment. Then he'll get it directly with me via my live here. And then after I get done with Dave Simpson from Gamers on Games, we're going to get into the fun subject, and that is we're going to talk about book publishing, game publishing, and really what is the core truth of it. Because I get about, on average, about 2 to 3 requests, sometimes upwards of 4 a month, where I get people saying, "Hey, got a question for you. I want to start a small publishing business. Well, what's your suggestions?" Scott Mulder, "Hey buddy, how you doing? Hello team. Happy Tuesday, Monday less fugly sister." I don't know about you guys, but it is hot as hell up here in Michigan. We hit almost it was like 97 today, or yesterday 97, today 94. Heat index over 100. Hey, how you doing, Rod? Hope your eating is going well too. Where you're at is probably cooler than the 90s like we have here. But real quick, Gamers on Games with Dave Simpson. Now, I want to give a little bit of background about my history with Dave Simpson and Gamers on Games. I actually met him on Twitter. He actually has me blocked now. Imagine that. Go figure. Reason why he blocked me was because he doesn't like the fact that I won't just arbitrarily be a yes man on his page. And on top of that, he basically took one of my comments and he tried to twist it into one of these moral outrage. Like, can you believe what this guy said? And when I said, hey, because he blacked out my name, I said, hey, I own it. I said it. He basically blocked me because he didn't like what I said. Now, me and Dave have had many talks on Twitter. And this goes way back to about 1.5 years ago when he was actively going against Vic Dorso with DaveCon, trying to get people to not go to DaveCon. In fact, that's how he introduced himself to me, by trying to get me not to go to DaveCon, not to be a part of it. And he basically was calling Vic Dorso a Nazi and a whole bunch of other BS. And I was polite but firm with him. Basically just said, hey, you should drop this. You're messing with somebody you shouldn't mess with. And he got the bull pretty much. Well, then Dave, because what Dave likes to do on his YouTube channel, he doesn't have me blocked on that, but what he likes to do on his YouTube channel is he likes to pick the most controversial subject because he wants people to like it. He wants people to engage in it. And even if it's negative engagement, that's even better for Dave. Like, he took on the Warhammer community. He went after this guy in the Warhammer groups called Bib Fortuna, and the guy, and basically Dave did what he did to Dave, or excuse me, is what he did to Vic Dorso over at DaveCon, is basically called the guy out as a racist, as a bigot, went after him publicly, and then when the guy came back on with him and said, hey, let's do a mutual talk, I want to talk to you about this, he basically says how this guy is, he's not going to get in debate with him because this guy is looking to start trouble and everything. Rod says, my impression of Dave S is that he looks for trouble and clicks, including running with the story that might not be true if it aligns with his biases. I'm sorry to go through that. Yep, and that's pretty much what's going on. How you doing, RPG Grandma? If you're driving, be careful. If you're not, welcome to the show. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on, because he also likes making these little shorts, and he makes these little funny videos. He makes little jokes. And he made this one video where he said, did you know that when a person's being cremated, and he's doing this on video, he's like, when a person's being cremated, there's a point when, and he goes like that, the meat is perfectly done. And a guy commented on that video. Now, my daughter was cremated. And so a guy comments on the video really nicely. He says, hey, this is a little bit bad for people who've had family members who've cremated. And Dave eggs this guy on, and he pokes this guy. And the guy gets back even stronger. So here comes Dave with his, I'm a victim now. You're attacking me type shit. So I went ahead and I went on the same video and I said, hey, Dave, this is really, a little bit out of taste. What does he do? His typical with me, ignores me. So I'm doing this video because he ignored my PMs of this last fiasco that he just, for some reason, wants to play with. Oh, good. Glad you're not driving. So the latest fiasco with Dave Simpson is my biggest online fan, VGAPMI. Got to get this guy right. 1895. He is just like my super stud fan, and he follows me all over the place. And I think he's an alt account for a certain company, which I'm not going to get into, but I think I know who it is. And so comments on a lot of videos, makes a lot of nonsense. And for those of you who are kind of in the know what was going on through 10 Cars Tavern and Tabletop Tap Room, he made this post. He said basically, do a story on North Texas RPG Con yesterday. Police showed up to arrest Don from Wizard Tower Games, and he fled. No one knows where he's at right now. Bad Mike and Eric Tenkar are hiding the story. Well, this is the post. And Dave, of course, because when Dave saw that, Dave was like, holy shit, I got me something on Don from Wizard Tower Games. So he's like, you have a link to this? I need an article to start with, thanks. And then that was 12 days ago. Then 11 days ago, he hasn't heard back from this VGA PMI. And he prompts him. He says, I haven't heard from you. If you have something, please get it to me. If not, then this posting needs to go. Keyword. This posting needs to go. So I made a couple of comments going, hey, you know what? This isn't true. It's telling people I had a warrant for my arrest when I did not. I do not. Can you please take this down? I was really nice to him. And I made the in-post comment, and he ignored it. In fact, VGA PMI commented under it, and then Simpson commented, and it went kind of down. I know Eric Tenkar from 10 Cars Tavern commented on it because that's what Eric and me were talking about earlier today. And Dave deleted Eric's comments. I think there's going to be a video on that tonight. Check out another channel later on. But the thing is I PM'd David personally. And I was very nice with him. I said, hey, Dave, look, this is alluding, I had an arrest warrant for me. It's not true. It's on your channel. You have a lot of followers. People are seeing this shit. They shouldn't see this. Can you take it down, please? Well, he ignored my PM. So I asked him nicely, again, Dave, would you please go ahead and delete this? It's alluding again. I had an arrest warrant. No, I didn't. It's not true. Again, you got a lot of followers, man. You shouldn't sit there and have this stuff up. Please take it down, because you're already saying that you're going to take it down if this VGA PMI doesn't prove it. What does he do? He ignores it. Why? Because he sees the PM and he thinks it's funny. So, Dave, you think you're funny, you're not. Because I can go on and on about this Yahoo. I can go on and on. I can talk about his attacks on Jim Ward. He never attacked Jim Ward when Jim Ward was alive. He waited till the man was dead. Then he goes after Jim Ward with a video. And because that's how you are, Dave. And you are probably watching this video because I tagged you in my post tonight about this video. And if you want to say I'm a liar about anything, I'll give you my standard offer. No arguing, no fighting. Let's do a live together. I'll come on your channel so you control it. How's that? And we can discuss our Twitter comments back and forth, our PMs. We can talk about this. We can talk about whatever you want. Because the thing that annoys me about Dave Simpson is this is exactly what he does. He really likes to press people's buttons. And when they press back, he gets a little iffy. So he's leaving this up on his post. He obviously knows it's false. It's alluding that I had an arrest warrant. So, Dave, I'm saying this on live video. Watch your mail. Something's coming for you, buddy. It's just going to be a letter. Don't worry. So, moving on. So, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about publishing. Okay. Now, like I said, I get about 2 to maybe 4, possibly 5 emails a month where people ask me things like, hey, I'm getting ready to open a publishing business, or I want to open up a publishing business. Can you give me advice? And one of the things that I always ask people when they send me these emails, I always come back with them and I say, well, do you want to do book publishing or do you want to do game publishing? Because although game publishing and book publishing are extremely similar, there's subtle nuances. And plus, what are your mechanics behind wanting to have a publishing business? Do you want to do you plan to produce material yourself like we do? Are you going to outsource it? Because if you're going to outsource it, do you have an idea where you want to outsource it to? Because that's one of the biggest things. If you're going to publish games or books, you got to have a place to print them. And 99% of the time, people go overseas to print them, unless they do extremely high runs. Then there are places in the U.S., but in the United States, for games, people, they're going to want. I mean, I'm talking about if you're getting the game at a price point where you can sell it and make a profit, or where you can wholesale it and such. Oh, Eric from 10 Cars Tavern said right now, tonight's video is uploading now. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, good. This Yahoo needs to be addressed. But so basically the big thing is about domestic printing. And that is going to be one of your biggest hurdles that you have to get over, because whether you go domestic or overseas, there's unique issues that go along with each one of them. Such as, like as an example, like if you go domestic, the problem with most domestic game publisher or game manufacturers, is that they want minimal, probably 2,500 units, 5,000 units, and that's to get it at a price point where you can sell it at a standard retail price, and be able to make money on the back end of that. Or if you have ideas of selling it in retail stores or to a wholesaler where they will sell it to hundreds or if not thousands of game shops throughout the United States, you have to be able to take that well, depends. If you're selling directly to a game shop, standard discounts 42%. That's what you're going to find, right around 42%. Some demand 45% if they're a really big place. And if you're selling to a wholesaler, that's going to jack way up, probably into 50 to 55 to 60% range, because they got to offer that 42 discount to all their game shops, and they're going to make a smaller cut, but they have minimums and they have all these customers. So if you're going to go to places like Game Crafter, you're not going to get that, even if you go 2,500 units. And Game Crafter is not geared for that type of production. They're geared more for the people who want 5, 6 units, 10 units, a dozen units that they're trying to go ahead and get, because they want to go ahead and they want to have some Kickstarter demos or some demos for their friends or whatever. And then you have other people's thing as well, and I get this a lot. Well, the response will be, I plan on doing it only POD. So I'm going to go through, and only PDFs, I'm going to go through Drive-Thru-RPG. And my suggestion to that is Drive-Thru-RPG is a great venue to go ahead and to sell through, but you're not going to get the reach that you think you're going to get by just doing PDFs through Drive-Thru-RPG. I always tell people print is not dead, although you'll hear from a lot of people that it is. A lot of people want a PDF, but a lot of people also want print. And so the only thing what you're doing when you're going directly through places like Drive-Thru-RPG is that you're only going to be dealing with people who want PDFs. Or if they do want print, then they're going to go through Drive-Thru-RPG's POD, which goes through another company. And I'm not going to name the company, but the problem with that company is their quality isn't worth a damn. It's hit and miss. I ordered a DMG, a Player's Handbook, and an Unearthed Arcana print through them, and I think a Monster Manual 1, I think it was, or Monster Manual 2, one of the two. I ordered all 4 of them at one time, and I got them in within like 3-day span. And 2 of the manuals were tightly bound, well bound, and the other 2 were not. The binding was cracking and coming out already and such. So again, POD, you got to be really careful of. And again, I'm not going to name shame the company that they deal with, but for those of you in the know, you know who I'm talking about, because it doesn't come with a Drive-Thru-RPG label. It comes with that binding company's label on it. So you know exactly who bound your book. So that's one of the big things is your supply and demand. I also ask people, do you want to go ahead and you want to do it legally, or you want to do it where you're going to get audited by the IRS? And I get people looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I told the story once before in another video, but I reached out to a guy selling these games under his official game company Facebook page. And I said, I'd like to buy one of your games. It was a module. And he said, sure, I can hook you up. And I says, well, what is the website? He goes, oh, you can use PayPal. I go through PayPal. I'm like, okay, what's your company's PayPal? And it was his personal name. And I asked him, I said, I need your company PayPal. He's like, no, I always sell my games through my personal PayPal. I'll guarantee he probably does not report that to the IRS, even though PayPal does. So that's going to be a flag. It might take a year, might take 5 years, but sooner or later the IRS catches up with you. So I always tell people, first step in is file an LLC in your state. Step one, LLC, get it filed. You want to get that limited liability company set up. And what a limited liability company does is it takes all the liability off of you personally. So let's say you own your home, you have a couple of nice cars, maybe you got a fifth wheel in the back of your yard, maybe a RV camper and a boat, whatever, and all of a sudden something happens with your product. Maybe you use a piece of art that you were not aware was not public domain, and you get sued by the artist, and that artist gets a $500,000 award against you. It's not unheard of. If you don't have an LLC, well, that artist has won a judgment against you. Guess what that artist is going to, his attorney is going to do? They're going to go after you personally. With an LLC, unless you violate what they call the corporate veil of protection, and based on each state, it's hard to do. In Michigan, it's very hard to do if you're a sole member LLC. But if you do violate and break your LLC protection, they can still go after you, but that's rare. So when you have an LLC, the only thing you can do is they can collect from the LLC. And that usually means, like, if you got a few grand in your bank account, your company bank account, that's all they can do. But they can't take your house, they can't take your camper, they can't take all your personal stuff. So that's that. So Scott Mulder just commented, he said, I filed taxes on my dry therapy products as a contractor, but my production is basically a hobby experience. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you do it the correct way. You report it. You are probably more the abnormality than the norm, just because it's a combination of people don't think about it a lot of times. A lot of times people, it's just something they get in their account every month, and again, they don't think about it. But the big thing is file an LLC, step number one. Get a bank account in your LLC's name is step number two. And then you put, as my dad used to say, your shingle outside saying Don's Publishing or Scott Mulder Publishing or RPG Grandma Publishing, whatever. It's just a smart move to do. So, and the other thing I ask people when they start talking about wanting to do publishing, and this is a real interesting thing that I think people like Rod will be able to, Wabler will be able to talk about, is you have to go ahead and you have to realize the demand on your time. Game publishing and book publishing is not something that, if you're going to do it as a living, let me back up. If you're going to do it as a living, it's not something that you can just sit back idly and just work a couple hours a day at it. When I had my brick and mortar book publishing operation that I had back in 2008 to 2013, we opened up at 9 o'clock. We closed at 4:30, and I was there at 7:30 every single morning. And I left on average of about between 6 and 7 every single day, and I was there 7 days per week. That's the time that it took. Now, that was a brick and mortar operation. I had 9 women working for me. I had a bunch of contractors and such. I mean, we were cranking. We had over 453 authors at the time, over 900 books in our stable. We stocked every single book we had. We did it all. And let's see. Yeah. Rod says, should I do it as a hobby? I still put about 4 hours a day into it. Yeah, exactly. A hobby, and you're doing it 4 hours per day. And, because the problem with publishing is this. You put out something successful. you can't rest on your laurels, because people want you, they want more. Like Joe Block will be able to tell you, because Joe Block puts out a lot of awesome Greyhawk content. And I'm sure Joe Block would tell you that, he puts something out, people are always saying, when's the next thing coming out? But the thing is so you have a time commitment. And that falls into my next question that I always talk to them, or I ask them when I'm on the phone with them, is if they say they're going to do it full time, do you have a place to do it at? And when I say a place to do it at, I'm not talking about a room in your home. I'm talking about, do you have a brick and mortar operation? We have a shop that we do print and binding out of. We are in July moving into our new set of headquarters, which is going to have a front end, small retail environment in the front. There's going to be development space in the middle, and in the back is going to be a large shop space. And we're going to be hiring a couple people to start off with. We're going to be hiring a marketer, person dedicated solely to marketing. They're going to do all marketing, social media content. They're going to be doing all of our Facebook, and they're going to be cranking up our Instagram, our TikTok, all that stuff. And then I'm going to be bringing a person in to do work in the back shop, binding and such. And then eventually I'm going to follow my publishing company's model. I'm going to start off with those two people, and then the third person probably by the fall, early winter, Christmas time, I'll probably be hiring someone to do graphic design for me in the middle of it. The parasocial audience, keep changing your name. Good evening all. Thanks for tuning in. So you got to understand, are you going to do it full time? You're going to do it part time? Or are you going to do it just as a side gig, like Wabler says that he does it as? And if you do it as a side gig, there's nothing wrong with working out of your home. But if you're going to do it as a full time thing, what you're going to find is people who want to publish with you are not going to want to meet you at Denny's or at a coffee shop. They're going to want to see your brick and mortar operation. I think when I had my publishing company, what sold the majority of my publishing contracts was not our reputation, because we had an excellent reputation. It was the fact that they could come, they walked in, they were greeted by Melanie, my receptionist and office manager, and they could see, they could see Kate, and they could see Janice, and they could see, Abby and all the rest of the people that worked for me. And it was an experience when they walked in, because they saw a very professional office environment, people working with their computers, and we were very professional. I'll post some images of my book publishing operation on my Facebook after this video, just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about, because I'm very proud of what I created there. So, that's the big thing about opening up a publishing business. You have to just know what you want to do. It's okay to do it part-time. It's okay to do it on the sly. But again, even if you're doing it on the side, I always tell people, if you're taking a product that has imagery in it and you're putting it out there for sale, and I don't care if you're going to a stock art to get it, and this is where the danger of AI is going at, and we're going to be talking a little bit about AI on the vlog of many things this Thursday night, 8 o'clock. But, get an LLC. It's less than $100, literally less than $100. Don't go through an attorney to do it. Just research it yourself. Like in Michigan, it's a simple form. It's literally like 4 or 5 questions. You sign it, pay $65, and they give you an LLC. You get the LLC back like within 24 hours. It's stupidly simple, and it's $65. And the protections behind that are just so great. And then on top of that, you go immediately take that LLC, you get on the IRS website, get your EIN number, which is your employer identification number. It's basically your, for lack of a better term, it is your company's social security number. And that is what the bank is going to want to open up your bank account. And you can get an EIN within 10 minutes getting on the federal website. So LLC, I harp on it, LLC people. So, beyond that, it's all about, what are you prepared for? Keep in mind, if you're just going to do something like you're going to put out a module and that's what you want to do, are you a game publisher if you put a module out? Sure, you published a game. But, I'm not trying to insult nobody here, and I hope nobody takes this wrong, but, there are people who publish games, and then there are game publishers. People who publish games, and there's a big difference between people who publish games and game publishers. And a game publisher to me is somebody who does it full time. They have the tools and the equipment to do what they're selling. Number two, they have the knowledge behind that, or they have people working with them or for them that can take care of the details and such that you got to have. Weibler says, better get your LLC name fast because Justin is taking them all up. Yeah. Don't want to be sitting on any of those LLCs now, do we? But, the big kicker here is again, a game publisher. And, it's like with us. I'm really big on perception. I want people to perceive professionalism. I want people to perceive, I want people to be able to walk into my operation. I want someone to be able to call up, want to make an appointment, because we are starting now. We are ramping up publishing product for other people. We are publishing we're actually putting out 2 modules for one gentleman, another module for another gentleman, a card game with another. It's actually another company. We're doing a card game for them. We're working with Paulie Kidd. We're working with Tim Kask. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And those people, if they come to Michigan, they're going to want to come to my operation, and rightfully so. And when they come, I want them to see a professional operation. I want them to look in, and by walking into a professional looking operation, that gives them that boost of faith that they need to have in Wizard Tower Games, knowing that, this just is not a guy working out of his house, that he has an operation. And that's the big thing with Two Moon that I wanted to do and I succeeded in. Yeah. And then David, thanks for tuning into my video. How are you doing? But again, I think public perception is what sells. And your social media is really important. Get a Facebook page, get an Instagram or a TikTok, but get a social media page up and running. And again, I think I talked about this in another video. When you have your social media page up, don't talk your personal BS. Don't talk about the argument you have with your girlfriend. Don't talk about you're having a bad day. Don't talk about your politician that you like over another politician. Don't talk about your social, your social. When I say social, what I mean is, try to stay out of social politics as much as you can. It's okay to say we support this movement or we support something, but, do it delicately, because, especially when I say politics, because keep in mind one thing, no matter what side of the aisle that you vote for, a lot of your customers don't vote with you, and you might turn off a lot of people if they find out how you really voted. So with my company, I have a blanket policy. I had it with my publishing company that I had back in 2008. No politics allowed on any social media. None, period. We don't publicly back a candidate. We don't publicly not back a candidate. And then we have another one. My wife. On the other side of AI, you have to be careful of someone illustrating themselves. Friends and family may say you have a great artist, but listen to the experts professionally illustrate. I believe that's my wife. I'm not sure. Huh. My wife's down in her sewing room. I might have to go ahead and check with that. But I'll read it again. On the other side of AI, you have to be careful of someone illustrating themselves. Friends and family may say you're a great artist, but listen to the experts. Yes. And that's another thing, professionally illustrate. Professionally illustrate and make sure that, you can go like on Drive-Thru RPG and get a lot of great stock art. Eric Lofgren does great stock art. There's a whole bunch of stock artists out there. Be willing to use stock art, but also be careful of AI, because people will tell you that they drew it, and Weibler will tell you that's how me and Rod met. People will tell you that it's not AI and it is AI, and you get Here's my wife. Did you just comment on my video?
Yes, I did.
Okay, my wife commented on my video. Okay, just making sure. We're a little sensitive about mystery posts on my videos right now. I'm talking about your comment now. So,
Yeah.
but the big thing with what's that?
You know why I said that? Because of the illustrators.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. So the thing is my wife was dropping input. So that was genuinely my wife. So, you got to be really careful about that because, again, what you run into is you run into people that'll provide you artwork, and they say it's not AI, and it is. And this is the problem with AI. It's getting good, and it's getting really good. And people just going into, Midjourney or these RPG AIs that say we don't use anyone else's work, BS. They go ahead and they sell it heavily. Yeah, we both ended up using AI in the early days when I started charging. Yep. Well, no, it's both of ours. I mean, the thing is what we don't want to do is, and it just puts egg on your face, is you trust your artist. You use their art and someone says, hey, that's AI. And then you publicly go, no, it's not. And then another person goes, I think that's AI. And you're like, no, it's not. And then they start pecking at it and they start pointing out why they think it's AI. Then you look at it and you're like, wait a minute here. Is this AI? It is AI. Because that was what happened to me. I actually reached out to my artist and said, is this AI? He denied it. And then I said, well, you know what? I really want the Photoshop. Can you give me your layered Photoshop, just snapshot? Because I want to post that to shut Rod up. And he was like, no, I got it, man. I used AI. So I was like, ass on my forehead, big red letters. And I went online, I manned up. And that's another thing that you have to be able to do when you have your own operation is never be afraid to admit you're wrong. Never be afraid to say, hey, look, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Maybe it was something you said you didn't mean to online. Maybe you're saying something's AI, not AI when it was. But man up. And just when you're wrong, you're wrong. Go online, admit you're wrong. Don't let the ego get in the way. Because when you're being attacked by people online, what you'll most likely find is they go after you and then their friends join in. And when you go and you're defending yourself, you can't defend yourself because no matter what you say, it ain't gonna be good enough. So if you're wrong, don't become intractable. Be man enough to go, you know what, you're right, we made a mistake. We said we were going to do something and we didn't do it, or we promised something we weren't able to deliver. We'd love to have done it, but just shit happens, and you push on. And when you admit you're wrong, you take the smoke out of their fire, because that's what they don't want. That what they want is they want you doubling down on them. They want you to defend yourself, because the more you argue with them, the more they can go right under your comment, and then their friends join in and it becomes a big feeding frenzy. So what you do, say, sorry, you're right, I was wrong. But if they continue their BS, you lock the comment section off. Weibo says, I wish we had stock art options 20 years ago and I started as we do now. If you're not a patron for Dean Spencer and Rick Hershey, you're missing. Oh, hell yes. Dean Spencer and Rick Hershey, those are another two guys for stock art. They do a ton of stock art. And Lofgren does a lot of black and white stuff. Spencer does full color stuff. And we're talking about full page, full cover, beautiful, bright color, and it's scaled right. And that's another thing. People like Spencer and Lofgren, they know what they're doing, because they know that you got to put that on a page, and they know how the pages lay. So you'll see sometimes they'll do like a half page, but it's designed to go up the side of a page, or they'll do a half page designed to go across the bottom or the top. And they just know what they're doing, and it's just beautiful work. Yeah, thanks for mentioning Spencer and Hershey. Those are two guys that just are awesome. I'm done with this. When I'm done with this live, I'm going to put links to their guys' drive-through RPG pages under comments. Scott Mulder says, AI has invaded the third CGI space now. My primary software provider just opened an AI platform that uses 3D models in an environment, which will hurt my CGI art, kind of like Wacom debacle. Yeah, exactly. See, a lot of people are jumping on AI, but what they're doing is, I think they're being premature. There's a lot of AI models that will do work for you, and a lot of companies do it legitimately because they train their AI models internally. But the imagery AI is the thing I have a really big problem with. Also, we're starting to get some submissions for modules that you just know damn well was done by AI, because it's kind of the pace of the wording. You're just looking at it, you're going, come on, this is really wonky. People don't normally talk this way, or sentence structure does not operate this way. But things like that, it's like Adobe. Adobe's getting really heavily into AI now, and I'm sad to see that. But AI is going to be the future. It's just going to be something that people are going to have to get around. So like back right around 2008, 2009, when Photoshop started, Photoshop layers, and people are like, that's cheating. And now layers are just kind of like a normal thing. Eric Loughlin is my favorite black white ink artist. It's up there with Tramp, in my opinion. Yes, I agree. Just beautiful work. I mean, when you're talking about stock art, it used to be stock art was junk. You thought, oh God, stock art. Now it's inexpensive. I mean, I think Lofgren charges $5 an image, $8 an image, or something like that. And I've seen really good stuff online, black and white, $2, $3, $4 an image. And if I can go, I'm gonna tell you right now, if I can go illustrate, and I don't feel like drawing it myself, because like my book, The Haunted Ruins, I utilize my own pencil drawings that I do. But if I'm not going to draw it myself, if I got to put 50, 60, 70 black and white images in a book, and I'm paying $5 a piece for them, oh my God, it's a deal. Because if I got to drop $300-400 on black and white imagery for an RPG game or a module, that's $300-400 is like a gem of a price compared to having 1 or 2 black and white pieces done for close to a couple $100. If you're lucky, you get them that cheap. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. David Flores says Dean also has a Patreon where I think you can get credits for his art. I'm gonna drop his page. I'll do his Patreon also. I'll check to see if Lofgren has a Patreon also. But yeah, the thing is artwork is a big part of your own publishing business, and that's where the whole money thing comes in. Because my last question I always ask people is, do you have any money to invest in your publishing operation? And most of the time I get people to go, well, not really even thought about it. And I'm like, it's an expensive thing. When you're getting into publishing, the 2 largest expenses you're going to have is editing and art. That's just going to be your 2 largest expenses, is editing and artwork. Editing a module, as an example, if you're getting a solid good editor, I've seen editors go, depends on, let's say a 50-page module. I've seen editors charge, as little as, $500, $600, $700 to edit a module. And RPGs can be thousands. An editor is worth their weight in gold if they're good at what they do. They are worth their weight in gold, because editing is just such an important thing. Because if you want to take your viability as a professional and knock it out the window quick, go ahead and have it not edited and somebody starts reading your work. We're at the point now where we have posted a few pictures of work online and have labeled it pre-edit, and we still get knocked because they can see the edit mistakes. And people are like, well, I see that and I see that. And it's like, I get it, it's not edited yet, but they still knock you on it. So people are passionate about their nouns and verbs and commas and periods. Weber also says, art and writing, I think most of us do our own writing, so we don't count. But if you're paying a writer, that's the number 2 expense. That's true. Getting somebody involved that can do writing for you is a very expensive process. For reference, art for Twilight Fable is almost $30K, editing was $6K. Yeah. Yep. Sounds about right. So Twilight Fables, $36,000. And he didn't even have a printed page yet. So if that tells you anything. Crazy, crazy dollar amounts to publish stuff. David Flores says, my original budget had me paying myself for writing. That amount would never fund. Oh, hold on a minute. First, David said, editing is close to 40% of his AA budget. Yes, his Atomic Age budget. Yes. And then he also said, my original budget had me paying myself for writing, and that amount it would never fund. See, and that's the thing. I mean, you need to go ahead and you need to understand it's an expensive business publishing, even if you do it yourself. It's a really, really expensive business. And, with us getting ready to, we want to definitely, like I was talking about, we talking about this year, we want to get into our own publishing digs. We're going to want to get some people in working for us. You can't hire people for $8 an hour. You can't hire people for 10 or 15 bucks an hour anymore. You got to pay up to get the work. And I'll give you an example. When I had my book publishing business, the Michigan minimum wage at the time was $9.65 an hour. This was back in 2008, $9.65 an hour. I hired my layout specialist in at almost $17 an hour. So I almost doubled the minimum wage to get her. She was fresh out of school, fresh out of college, learning how to lay out. Her name was Kate, and Kate was worth her weight in gold on laying books out, because Kate could work on 10 books at one time, and every Friday her work was done, and it was done right. In the next 5 years, never an error, not one. Crazy stuff. Scott Mulder is asking Wabler a question: were you able to recoup your expenses? And see, that's the other part of this. And that's a good question, because you have all this money forward. You're paying all this money forward, and it's sitting there, and you got to be able to market it and sell it. And there's a lot of people in the RPG game, or in the gaming sphere, period. And again, not insulting anyone, but the thing is, and I got this just about 2 weeks ago. Talked to a guy on the phone. And I made that comment to him, to that similar effect. And he goes, "I'm not worried about, because my stuff will be good, and all their stuff is junk." And I'm like, well, you don't know if your stuff is good, because you may think it's good. Doesn't mean it is. You are always going to think that your work is done great. You're always going to think that the book you wrote is the next Stephen King bestseller. The problem is, it doesn't matter what you think. It's your readers and the game players who are going to tell you whether or not it is good. Wabler Answer says, Scott, I spent $60K on Twilight Fables, all total, including marketing and print costs. My Kickstarter was $54K. I sold about $10K since then, so I've just broke even about anything after this profit. Yeah, I mean, look at these numbers here, people. This is so starkly, just really hones in on all of this. $60,000 for Twilight Fables. And he did a Kickstarter, which was a smart thing to do. He gained a lot of that back up through the Kickstarter, but he still had to produce the product and get it out to people. And see, that's why I kept telling, that's another thing I tell people is, keep in mind one thing, is the money that you make on Kickstarter is not all profit. You got to produce the item, or have the item produced, and you got to be able to send that product out, and you got to be able to get that product out. And that's going to be the thing that I'm going to talk about last in this part about publishing, and that is, one of the biggest problems that you're going to have is just problems. And how do you deal with problems? Are you the type of person, when you get a really bad problem, do you get mad, throw your keyboard and storm out of your office and take a weekend? Or are you the type of person that just gets all flustered and can't deal with it? Don't get into game publishing. What you have to be able to do is, you have to be able to take problems, you have to think about them logically, you have to take them apart to their core components. You have to go ahead and think, what's my problem? What is going on here? Yes, I'm mad. Yes, I'm upset. Yes, this is totally side-railed my plans. Absolutely. So how do I deal with the problem? Screaming, yelling, getting mad does no good at all. Cussing people out on the phone, no good at all. Trust me, you get a customs problem, you better be polite to customs, because they'll flag your ass. U.S. Customs in Detroit, I think, has in the office 4 women working in it. Go ahead and call them up. I guarantee they probably got a dry erase board up that has jerks, and they have names down below. And whenever a phone call comes in they look up at the jerk board. I'm not on the jerk board. Wabler also continues, says, also did net me an any nomination, and OSR version got a huge kudos from Tim Kask on one of his videos, so it was worth it. Yeah, and that's another thing, Scott says thank you also. And Weber, thank you very much for being open and honest about that. Much appreciated. And so, problems are going to be a big thing that you're going to run into. And how you deal with the problems is more important than the problem itself. I'll give you a few examples. We did a Kickstarter for D20 Delving. I thought I'd be proactive. So because at the time the Kickstarter ended, contacting the paper mills, paper was way out. I'm talking about months out. So I knew I couldn't get my card stock, especially 320 GSM Black Core for the cards, or my board stock. I knew I couldn't get it at least for 4 or 5 months. And I was like, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. Because I know a bunch of reputable suppliers in China, I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to go ahead and just order the games. What the hell? I'll take a little bit of the hit because I can produce less than you can buy in China. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to order from China. I'll get them in about 3 months. Life will be good. No big deal. And it went like clockwork. Sent all the files, did the wire transfer, got the acknowledgement. Life is good. Got the shipping notification. Life is great. Got the customs. I'm like going, Yahoo, this is going to be awesome. And all of a sudden, wah, 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 games are held. And they have been held. And they have been held. And when they're held, there's storage fees. And I talked about storage fees and your shipping codes and everything. So that has been a problem going on a year or over a year. And it's been frustrating. It has been. Me and Tim have had many, many discussions about it. Tim connected me with a guy named Chris Clark, who is an awesome guy, dealt with customs as part of his job in FedEx for many, many years. Chris is a well-known individual in the gaming sphere, hell of a nice guy. And, I talked to Chris on the phone, and Chris is like, hey, ask this question, ask that question. If you need me getting involved, I'm happy to go on a conference call with you. Really, really nice guy, really top tier individual. And, so I asked those questions, and sure enough, they released the games. And I was like, all right. Went to go pick them up, and they're like, oh, by the way, there's like $4,000 in storage fees. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, there's 4,000. The games were released. You got to pay the storage fees. Now we can give you your games. And I was like, WTF? So what I do? Got back. It's a 2-hour drive from Detroit to my house, and it was a long drive, and I was making phone calls and trying to figure stuff out. Got back, and it was the Chris Clark phone call that kind of keyed me in, going, hey, what about that code? There's a code where it's door to door. So if there's storage fees to be paid, it's up to the public or the manufacturer. And I've been dealing with them. And, naturally they're hesitant to pay $4,000. And due to, I actually had my attorney get involved in it, and they got the storage fees knocked down a little bit, but they're still excessive. They're over $3,000. So I made the offer to pay half of them and have the manufacturer pay the other half. And we're still going back and forth about that. So I'm making it myself. See, the solution, you make it yourself. You do it yourself, So these are just problems that you're going to run into. There's problems like, you give your times and you give your word based on the word of other people. That's why you always surround yourself with good people. And that's another thing I keep telling people. Be careful who you get in business with, because there are good people and there are bad people. Check them out. Do they got a track record? Do they know what they're doing? If they do manufacturing, what have they manufactured? Ask for a sample. We get it all the time. We do print and bind. We do saddle stitching is what we do for a couple of large publishers. You'd be surprised if you knew their names. And both of them, when I first did negotiations with them, said, we're going to give you our print file. We want you to print 4 copies of our module. And the one guy said, I want 4 copies of my game printed. I want you to send them to us. We want to see the quality, because their name rides on the quality of that book. Again, I remember early in the video, I was talking about when you go through DriveThru RPG and you order a print book, not going to name shame the company, but you get your book from this company. It's all wrapped prettily. I mean, they did a really, really nice job of packaging it. But again, I had 4 books, hardcovers. 2 were really well bound, 2 were not. Probably done on 2 different shifts with 2 different people, because they sent them to me over a span of like 3 days. So, and again, I go back right to the point where I talk about be a man, admit when you're wrong, admit when you have a delay. Don't lie to people. Do not lie to customers. Oh my God, don't lie to customers. The truth is what it is. You know, if you have binding issues, just be honest and say we're having binding issues. If you are having shipping delays, just say we are delayed in shipping. You know, the last thing you want to do is do the BS excuses. You know, checks in the mail. You know, no, it's not. You know, so you want to make sure that when you're wrong, you're wrong. Get your policies together, stick with your policies, but also know that, again, we're going to go back to when you're wrong thing. Too many companies have things like no refund policy. We have a no refund policy. Have we given refunds? Yes, I just agreed to give a refund on a product. Why? Because it's our fault. It's not theirs. You know, it's ours. You know, man up, accept it, do it. You know, price of doing business. You know, and it's one of those things that's very, very important, because keep in mind one thing is even something good can come out of something negative. If someone's having a negative experience with you, don't let the walls come up with you. Don't stand up and immediately go, well, I'm right, and damn it, I'm just going to hunker down. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and go, okay, why is this person upset? And if I was in their position, would I be upset? Honestly, you know, take a realistic look at yourself and go, you know, I can see why they're upset. So what would I do in that position? Maybe I'd be more patient, but not everybody has the level of patience that I do. You know, some people are more patient than I am. Some people are less. So what you have to do is you have to look at when you have that person messaging you and they're upset. You have to take a look at not the message, not the upsetness and get indignant. You have to take a look at, okay, what through all this anger, what is the core problem? Out of maybe 15 lines telling you what a so-and-so you are, where is that one brief statement that tells you about what their problem is? And that's what you center around. That's what I do. I look at the problem, not the rhetoric around it. Because you can send me a book, a page and a half of you dirty, rotten so-and-so, da, 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 da. Listen, I want that one statement that tells me what your real problem with me is, because I'm going to take a look at that and I'm going to say, okay, there's the problem. There's the person's problem. How do I fix it? I don't care about the rest. Because if I fix the problem, then they got no yank with me. They may still have a yank with me, but they got no legitimate yank. And as long as I know the yank ain't legitimate, then to me there ain't no yank. So, yeah, so publishing, very, very dynamic. It's depending how you do it. I think Wabler kind of showed people here. It's not a cheap endeavor to get into. It takes a lot of time, a lot of money. You know, me, Eric Tenkar's Tavern, and Tom Vrolt from Tabletop Tap Room are doing a joint game together called Blades and Sorcery Light, and we're getting ready to do a magazine called Torchlight. And you know, what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to work with other people. You have to understand their nuances. You have to understand their stances on things, and you have to be able to work through it. It's always a process. And it's the same thing in publishing. It's a daily process. You know, answer your email. Don't ignore complaints via email. Don't ignore questions via email. People ask a question. Yeah, maybe you're getting a bunch of questions over stuff and you're answering the same thing over and over again. But you know what? Answer the question. Because when they send you that email, they want to get a response. I would, and I know you would too. So this is Don from Wizard Tower Games. I thought I'd just go ahead and say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Be really appreciated, because it helps grow my channel. I want to be able to grow my channel legitimately. So everybody, I hope everybody has a good Tuesday night. We're at 53 minutes. I'd like to keep these right around an hour. Again, special thanks to Wabler for answering these questions, which were kind of, you know, private to your company. I appreciate it. And everybody have a good week. Again, Thursday, doing the vlog of many things. Got a really good video set up for that. Some interesting stuff going on. Yeah, so everybody, thank you very much. And have yourselves a good night, okay? Talk to you guys later.